and welcome or welcome back to another episode of The Pilot Principle. This is the podcast where we take a look at just the first episode of a series, the pilot, and then use it to decide if we should watch the entire series. Have you missed me? I've missed me. I feel like it's been a while since I recorded the last ep. This week you have me all to yourself once again because in case you missed it, on the last episode, I looked at the pilots of Tyler Perry's Beauty in the Black with TV producer and content creator Satima Tarawali. However, on this episode of The Pilot Principle, we are taking a look at episode 1 of Sky Atlantic's new spy drama series, The Day of the Jackal. An unrivaled and highly elusive lone assassin, the Jackal, makes his living carrying out hits for the highest fee. But, following his latest kill, he meets his match in a tenacious British intelligence officer, Bianca, who starts to track down the Jackal in a thrilling cat and mouse chase across Europe, leaving destruction in its wake. Bit of a mouthful, but blimey, sounds like we need to strap in. One thing about me, I say this all the time, there are many things about me, but one thing about me is that I love an assassin. So I knew I was going to lock in as soon as I saw an image of Eddie Redmayne staring through a sniper rifle, because that, the rifle, not the Redmayne, is a little bit of me. Also, I feel like it's been a while since I've watched a good old-fashioned Tom and Jerry shenanigan, you know? It sounds cliche, but there's something about the thrill of the chase. Before we get to looking at how the chase begins, let's look at some of the behind the scenes information. So unfortunately, no pilot title, just episode 1 for this one. But the synopsis tells us that when an elite assassin, the Jackal, carries out his latest kill, it catches the attention of a British intelligence officer who starts to hunt him down. That sounds about right to me. Simple, to the point. Kind of also reminiscent of the series synopsis, but does what it says on the tin. We have an episode length of 55-ish minutes and a series length of 10 episodes. And The Day of the Jackal is being shown on Sky Atlantic in the UK. Not quite sure where it's airing in the US. I want to say Peacock, but I also feel like I could have just made that up. No, I definitely saw a Peacock symbol at the end of the episode. Yeah, let's go with Peacock. The pilot was written by the series creator Ronan Bennett, who created and wrote episodes of Top Boy and Gunpowder. Neither of which I've seen, but both I've heard of. The pilot was directed by Brian Kirk, who directed the feature film 21 Bridges, Close the Island. You are more than welcome for that Chadwick Boseman impersonation. Kirk has also directed episodes of Hard Sun, Penny Dreadful, Game of Thrones, and Luther, so I think it's safe to say that he understands the assignment. In terms of cast, we first have Eddie Redmayne, who plays the Jackal. Redmayne has played Newt in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them franchise, Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything, and Lily in The Danish Girl, which won him an Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role. I actually haven't seen The Danish Girl, so I'm going to try and add that to my list. ASAP Rocky. Next on the selected cast list of 2, we then have Lashana Lynch, who plays Bianca. And Lynch, of course, starred as a 007 in No Time to Die. She also played Miss Honey in Matilda the Musical, as well as having a role in Captain Marvel and The Woman King. Let's play a quick game. I don't know if I'm going to do this every week, but I kind of feel like doing it now. I personally love doing this for fun and often unprompted. But can you think of how these 2 actors are connected? Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. Feel free to pause and think about it. And I won't lie, this actually took me way longer than necessary. However, I did manage to find a quick and easy link. You ready? So Eddie Redmayne was in Fantastic Beasts with my good friend Jude Law, who was in Captain Marvel with Lashana Lynch. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. So, The Day of the Jackal is in fact based on the 1971 novel of the same name by Frederick Forsyth. And in an interview with the executive producers Nigel Marchant and Gareth Name, Marchant said that this series is meant to be a love letter to the original. So they were trying to keep as close as they could to certain elements and themes. However, it's also an updating of it. Neem echoed this, saying that they wanted to stay relatively faithful to the original book, just reconceived as a 10-part contemporary series. There is also a movie that was released in 1973 that Redmayne mentioned that he watched over and over again as he was growing up. However, I have seen neither the film nor have I read the book, but if you have done either and were worried or wondering, now you know some information about what the executive producers were trying to achieve with this series adaptation. One final segue before we get into talking about the episode. My listener numbers have shot up over the past month. So firstly, I just want to say thank you very much to whoever is listening, whether it's for the first time or you are here week in and week out listening to me yap. If you haven't already done so, then please hit follow because that number has been embarrassingly stagnant. Much appreciated. Okay, let's get into talking about those first 10 minutes. Say it with me, everybody. Why the first 10 minutes? Well, because it's a fantastic way to set the stage and introduce us, the audience, to principal characters and themes that will set the tone for the rest of the series. And the first 10 minutes of episode 1 goes like this. We are in Munich, Germany. I've actually been there not that long ago, but not about me, right? And we watch as an older man plays back a voice on a tape recorder and mimics the words to perfection. He then walks into the living room space and we see a dead body that looks identical to the man walking around alive. Presumably the man walking around is the Jackal and the dead man is whoever's identity he is in the process of borrowing. The Jackal, in disguise as the janitor whose identity he borrowed, walks into a building and heads up to the top floor where he kills 2 people and severely injures a third. It doesn't take long for the alarm to be raised, but Jackal the lad has an escape plan, abseiling down the side of the building and disappearing in the midst of all that chaos. In a sterile apartment, we watch Jackal unpeel the prosthetic skin from his face and unglue a perfectly laid wig. Slowly but surely, we finally get our first look at the Jackal, who checks the current wind speed in Munich, then takes a little nap on the couch. Then we are hit with the intro, which is very James Bond, with the sort of smooth ballad of someone who sounds like Adele, but I can neither confirm nor deny is Adele, while we get alternating clips of the Jackal and Bianca in a 70s style, which really captures the elegance of the cat and mouse chase that will ensue over the course of the series. And the end of the title sequence takes us to the 10-minute mark. As an intro, it's good. It's really good. I like that we see how embalmed, pun intended, Jackal is in his process. We understand the professionalism of his role, which continues throughout the episode, and they play on that and build up really well in those first 10 minutes. I also think the delayed process of seeing Jackal's true face was also highly effective. And I'm sure there's some sort of symbolism in his face being revealed to us in a mirror. By the end of those 10 minutes, I've got questions. Wind speed? What do you need wind speed for? What's next? Why are you taking a nap? Are you lying in wait? Clearly the Jackal's work isn't done yet, and I already want to see him complete this mission. Rolling right on to talking about character, we're just going to stick with Jackal. And we actually do see his name, or a name, I should say, on a passport. The name is Anthony Mallinson. So I'm already like, oh, is that going to come up at some point? But I suppose we have to assume it's a fake name, and maybe it won't. Therefore, we'll just stick to calling him Jackal. Jackal the lad. I'm not going to lie, I love that Jackal the lad joke I made earlier. I had to try really hard not to burst out laughing. Yeah, I find myself hilarious, but this isn't about me. This is about a Jackal, and a Jackal is more than a gun for hire. He's an artiste. You see it in the way he practices the voice of the janitor in the first 10 minutes and throughout, as he really molds himself to become whoever he needs to be to get the job done. Throughout the entirety of the episode, Jackal is calm, so he's clearly been doing this for a very long time. He's a seasoned professional who isn't in it for the glory because nobody knows that this talented assassin even exists. And that's the best way to be an assassin. Be invisible. However, I also don't quite want to say that Jackal is doing all of this for the money, because that doesn't quite seem right either. He doesn't seem money hungry, despite the figures that are being thrown in his direction to complete jobs. In terms of Jackal's wants and needs, I think they all sort of stem from the professional. You know, he wants to do the job well. He needs to be paid for said job to afford his lifestyle. Because, as we learn later on in the episode, Jackal is far from just being a lone wolf. At the end of the episode, we learn that he has a family and a home, which stands to reason why he's so meticulous at concealing his identity when he deals with his clients. It's clear from the slight smile, though, that he affords himself after pulling the Munich job, that he enjoys what he does. And not gonna lie, kind of love that for him. That's the thing about assassins for hire. A lot of the time, they're not bad people or raving psychos. They're just cold capitalists, which is all to say that I don't dislike Jackal. Don't you just love the way I've just made myself out to be some sort of assassin expert? But I really do enjoy a good assassin in film and TV. I'm going to have to come up with a list of my top 10 faves. Another thing to mention about Jackal is that he is meticulous with collecting his DNA after a job. And I kind of think something will happen where he is unable to do so, and that could lead to his possible downfall. Because the Jackal we meet in the pilot episode is so calm and collected all of the time, I'm really interested to see if he gets angry or starts making mistakes further down the line, and if he has a taste for revenge, especially after his end of episode hook. According to an interview Redmayne did, he said that he worked with movement director Alexandra Reynolds, who he has worked with in the past, to work on physicality as he is playing all of these roles, and you can really see him embodying the various transformations he undergoes in the pilot episode. So yeah, definitely an effective use of training. Last but not least, only equally, is the second character, and that is Bianca, who is a British intelligence officer who specialises in snipers. We don't meet her until 20 minutes into the pilot, but they didn't skimp on giving us a well-rounded characterisation overview. Bianca is a standard Secret Service officer. She is tenacious, overachieving, puts her work before her family, but ultimately knows her stuff and is damn good at her job and refuses to be left out of the conversation. She's a bloody force of nature, to be honest. And right now her sights are set on finding out who assassinated Manfred Fest, who is like the head of the German First Family or something, because Bianca learns that the shooter fired from over 3.5 miles away, which is unheard of. And of course, guns is her thing, so she would know. And this moment, even though she doesn't know it, is the start of her chase for Jackal, who is of course the person who assassinated Manfred Fest. Now, in terms of Bianca's needs, it's funny because I kind of want to say that Bianca needs to pump the brakes because she pushes too hard on an asset. So this woman, Alison, is the possible key to Bianca tracking down a sniper maker who might know who assassinated Fest. Obviously, that was Jackal. But at the same time, Bianca is just doing her job, and the level of commitment will eventually see her getting said job done. Now, there are actually two sides to Bianca. There is the good, forward-footing office operative who goes home to her husband and teenage daughter after a long day. And then there is Nadine. Nadine is a fake name that Bianca uses, but Nadine is a good representation for this other side to Bianca. Nadine is Bianca in the field. Nadine is a shark. She plays hardball, she will ruin lives and burn shit down. Nadine is scary as heck, but I think it will be interesting to watch Bianca reconcile those two versions of herself throughout the series. Now, Lynch said of her character Bianca, she has challenges coming out of her ears and she finds it difficult to confront her own mistakes. She's constantly grappling with being inherently selfish and doing the right thing for her family. Which basically sums up what I said. Now, it's kind of funny comparing Jackal and Bianca because Funnily enough, you're rooting for Jackal and you're not necessarily rooting for Bianca. I'm not rooting for Bianca to catch Jackal, but so far the two of their paths haven't quite crossed yet. So just looking at them as two separate characters, which is kind of nuts because it should be the other way around, because for all intents and purposes, Jackal is the bad guy and Bianca is the good guy. So rooting for the bad guy to win and for the good guy to lose is just wild. And honestly, I just live for this kind of shit. And now it is time for a quick interlude to see what my film and TV life has been looking like beyond the pilot principle. And of course, we start with books. And you will all be thrilled, absolutely thrilled to know that I have actually finished a book. Okay, I finished reading 13 by Steve Kavanaugh. And this is the book that I said had the tagline, "The killer is not..." What was it? Oh, the killer isn't on the stand, he's in the jury or something. Anyway, very cool. And actually kind of on par with the Jackal, just because the murderer in the book literally kills a man and takes on his identity in order to join the jury to make sure this other person goes down for the crime that he committed. Trippy. I enjoyed it, but it does feel like the kind of book that a middle-aged man would read. Oh, I'm a gruff lawyer from the wrong side of the tracks. I'm out here for justice and good times, but I can also throw a punch, you know? Does that make sense? I don't think I've read a book like that before, so it was interesting. And I think I would pick up another one if the tagline managed to lure me in. Anyway, moving on to the next book, which I have only started and read the prologue of, and that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And this is a popular book that a lot of people have already read. And I do believe it has now been confirmed to be turned into a movie or a series. I can't remember who is going to be playing the lead roles, and I'm glad that I can't remember because I don't want to start picturing actors as I'm reading the book. I hate doing that. So yes, that's right. I'm a reader. Remember, I read books. So moving over to film, and to be honest, I haven't actually watched much. I did watch The Wild Robot a couple of weeks ago. That was really very sweet. I did in fact tear up at one or two points in the film, and yes, I can see why it's got the buzz. I think if you just want to go and watch something nice and heartwarming and just a bit relaxed, do it. I'm severely behind with going to the cinema, so I still have not seen Venom: The Last Dance, Heretic or Juror number 2, and Red 1 comes out very soon. So I don't know, I might have to have like a binge cinema day or something. Over to TV land, I've watched all bar the last 2 episodes of Paris Has Fallen, which I thought came out later than it did, and I was actually going to try and do a pilot review of that show, but now I can't. I will say it's not the most fantastic thing in the world. However, I do love, oh crap, what's her name? I'm gonna have to Google this. Ritu Aya. She's also been in the Umbrella Academy and Polite Society, if you want to narrow down who she is. Anyway, that's basically the reason I wanted to press play on Paris Has Fallen. So it's not a fantastic watch, but do you know what? Binged most of it in one day. So if you just want to have something on that just does the job, go for it. Speaking of things to press play on, I have watched the first episode of Schitt's Creek and the first episode of Mindhunter. 2 very different shows, but they've both been on my list for a very long time, and I'm trying to put a dent in the never-ending watch list. So I'll be sure to check back and let you know if I continue on with both those 2 shows. As we're at the start of a new month, let me tell you a little bit about what is to come on the pilot principle, just to, get you a bit excited, keep you coming back for more. So after this episode, I'm hoping to do a pilot review of Say Nothing, which comes out on Disney Plus/Hulu, Get Millie Black, which comes out on Channel 4/HBO, and The Madness, which comes out on Netflix. But, as usual with me, you are just going to have to wait and see, because who knows, could throw in a random episode, could completely change my mind and watch something else, could completely forget that I have this list and just go completely rogue. Kind of like how I was supposed to do a review for Paris Has Fallen, is falling down, whichever. I was also supposed to do a review for Like Water for Chocolate, so I didn't do any of those things. And that is all to say that, yes, I've just given you a list of possible episodes to come, but things could change because I can forget things. Crap, I just remembered Dune Prophecy is coming out as well this month. So yeah, stay tuned to see which episodes I end up reviewing. So if there's anything specific you do want me to review, make sure to drop a comment over on Instagram and the other one, Twitter. Yes, I definitely check both of those things at least once a week. Right, no more distractions. Let's get back into talking about episode 1 of The Day of the Jackal. In terms of the end of episode hook, there are kind of two, one for each character. So starting with Bianca. So Bianca has an asset called Alison, who she is trying to convince, read blackmail, to help her into finding the sniper maker who possibly made the sniper for Jackal. In order to force Alison to play ball, Bianca has arrested her daughter, who ends up going into cardiac arrest. So the question is, will Alison's daughter survive? Because if she doesn't, it's not looking good for Bianca. Moving swiftly over to Jackal, who is kicking it back in his mansion, waiting for his 3.75 million euros to be transferred to him as payment for the Munich job. When he checks in with the person who hired him, they send 2 words, fuck and you. Yeesh. Funnily enough, I feel bad for Jackal and not so much for Bianca, which shows it's a weird fitting / ill-fitting ending, but intriguing for both of them. Who deserves what, who doesn't deserve the thing that's happening. This whole play on character and who we should be rooting for and who we shouldn't be rooting for comes into play once again at the end of episode hook. Now, in terms of a serial arc / serial predictions, so, okay, right, I know this is the first time I'm mentioning this character, but there's someone called Dag Charles, UDC, who is some sort of tech billionaire who has developed a software that will show where money comes from and where it goes, which is something that has companies and people running scared. In fact, people are so scared of this technology that somebody has hired Jackal to assassinate UDC. Will Jackal take the job to assassinate UDC? We'll find out. Who wants UDC dead? Again, we'll find out. In terms of a series prediction, I really want to see Jackal let loose and destroy whoever it is that wouldn't pay him. He just sat there and did a little chuckle, "Oh, well played," or "your move." It was very huh. I honestly I would have been flipping tables. He just sat there. Somebody has got your 3.75 million euros, bro. The mortgage on his mansion must be large and in charge. I doubt he paid it off completely. So you've got a mortgage to pay. Go and get your money. So yeah, hopefully he goes and gets his money and destroys whoever wouldn't pay him. And obviously this comes with a bunch of questions: who, why, where, and of course the possibility that tracking them down could put him in Bianca's path. Because as we all know, you never return to the scene of the crime. In terms of my final prediction, while we know that Jackal is very meticulous about protecting his DNA, because we watch him pack away a cigarette that he was smoking, which was a 10 out of 10 moment for me. Also, we do see him blow up a hotel room and a car, again, to remove all evidence that he was ever there. So because of this, I think he might slip up, which could also put him in Bianca's path. I'm thinking that she managed to get a partial print and then she comes across him, but he's in his regular mode and they have a conversation. You know, we just reach that level of anticipation for cat and mouse finally being in the same room, but they don't quite know that each other is chasing each other. What? Yeah, I'm thinking that will happen at some point. Now, in terms of what made the pilot episode really strong, firstly for me, it's the characterization of Jackal, specifically his professionalism. From the cigarette butt to the makeup to become the janitor, to the fact that his sniper rifle was a suitcase, a Ryanair approved size suitcase. What? Love it. 11 out of 10. Also, not only this, but the pilot had some great camera work. I mean, in the first 10 minutes, there's a scene where we are watching as Jackal removes the makeup to become himself, and the shot is done from the back of his head as we're looking at him in the mirror, and then we watch as Jackal bends his head to wash his face, and then the camera goes into the mirror and then follows him. I had to pause it and work out how they possibly did that. I think I got it sorted though. I think they used a stunt double and then they were just mirroring each other. That's what I think happened, but I'm gonna have to find out because it was chef's kiss. There isn't really anything that I disliked about the pilot episode or that I would say lessened it. But if I have to be a nitpicker, then I would just say that Bianca, as a mother disappointing her teenage daughter because she chooses work over parents' evening, a bit cliche. But it's such a minor part of the episode and it's not really that big of a deal. And it does help show the two sides of her character really well, juxtaposing the tenacity of Bianca, the intelligence officer, with Bianca, the mother. So yeah, it was fine. But, you know, if I'm being balanced and have to say something, then that's what I would say. Okay, moment of truth time, people. Based on everything I've said thus far, here is why I think The Day of the Jackal might be for you. Firstly, if you like a smart, punchy, sexy shot drama, then definitely check out the pilot episode and possibly the whole series. If you enjoy complex character analysis done in a really simplistic way, then I think you'll enjoy both Jackal and Bianca. And finally, if you want something familiar yet unpredictable in your drama, then I think you will enjoy this, as there are already a number of plot threads unspooling to tangle with the typical "I'm gonna get ya" narrative. Now, on the flippity flip side, here are some reasons why The Day of the Jackal might not be for you. Firstly, if you're looking for something a bit more consistently explosive, sort of in the vein of a James Bond film or Gangs of London, then this considered, slow-moving, yet sure-footed drama might not be for you. And I actually can't think of another reason why you might not be into this. But I don't know, I suppose if you don't like Eddie Redmayne, which I'm not going to lie, I feel like I also might almost be in that category, but I haven't quite gotten there. Do you know what it is? I didn't watch, was it the third or the fourth Fantastic Beasts film? Because I think that could have skewed me into like, I don't like Eddie Redmayne category. But I didn't, so it didn't. So yes, if you don't like Eddie Redmayne, or when suspects are pursued across the globe and it gets a bit Carmen Sandiego, then sure, you might be mildly irritated by The Day of the Jackal. In terms of a pilot score, I kind of hate to say it because I've always been stingy with my ratings. But credit where credit is due, this one's getting a 5 out of 5 from me. It's solid. It's a balanced and interesting and layered introduction of the two main characters. It's got fantastic cinematography and an ending that leaves you wanting to know where the dice lands. Yeah, let's do this. Obviously, this means I will be watching the series. I need to know if Alison's daughter lives or dies and how Bianca will deal with whichever outcome. I also need to see how Jackal is going to react to the digital middle finger that was thrown his way. And yeah, man, I'm into it. Take me across Europe on this cat and mouse chase. Let's go. I really sounded like I was about to pack a bag there, didn't I? Thank you for joining me this week. Let me know if you'll be continuing with Sky Atlantic's The Day of the Jackal over on Instagram and Twitter at Pilot Principle. If everything goes to plan, which you all know not to hold me to, then coming up will be a pilot review of Say Nothing, which comes out on Disney Plus/Hulu. Therefore, I will catch you on the next episode. Aww.